Felicity. Well, we had one of our locals at Baltimore. His name was Billy. He played it was his first year in Masters. He finished 129th as a senior at his first major event, and
Ow.
I felt so bad. So I bought him Chipotle because I'm his local professor. So I took him to go get Chipotle.
Welcome, everyone, to the Attach and Pass podcast. I am Nikki. I am your co-host. I am here with Ben, a member of Team BG at this time. And we have three special guests today. We have Hunter Smith, we have Joe Figliano, and we have Hasan Kunukcu. Everyone want to say hi?
Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
Say hi to the class.
Hello.
How's everyone doing today?
Boiling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same here.
Mixture of those two.
Yeah.
I got home. My AC was 69 and it was set for 65. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be
Nice.
My AC's on the other side of the room, so I'm happy with that.
I got
have,
a fan right there.
Yeah, I have a rotating fan right here.
My AC
So.
is right
Right
here.
before we started, I
Okay,
kicked
hold
mine
on.
on.
I'm hitting
I was
it.
like, yep, I'm gonna die in here because I've got two computers running.
It is boiling. Yeah, I just turned the AC on. It was off for most of the weekend due to issues with the house, but now I can use the AC again. And yeah, this room gets very toasty because of the PC, so I get it. We got you guys here, which is pretty cool. And what's so special is that you three all got your Worlds invite for this season. So congratulations for one thing.
Thank you.
And so I'm just gonna, I guess, go through one by one here. So I guess we'll just do alphabetically. So we'll start with Joe. Joe, who are you? What are your accomplishments? Tell us about yourself.
So I've been playing card games for a long time, and since I was like 7, and have slowly ramped up how much effort I've put into them. Instead of being the type of person that hyper focuses on one game, I just play a bunch. I think the current count's like 9. But Pokemon's always the one I put the most energy to. I'd go to events, do almost pretty good, and then usually whiff day 2 by 1 match win. And then this season, I got my first day 2, which was a top 16 at Baltimore Regionals, and I just kind of said, all right, let's do this. Picked up a second top 16 at Vancouver, and some decent other finishes here and there. Got my Worlds invite.
Awesome. And we'll definitely be going through like those finishes from the season in a little bit. Hasan, what about you? Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I started playing the game right when X and Y came out, I'm pretty sure. And I was pretty casual until like 2018, 2019. I top 8 at NAIC and I won a regionals in seniors. And then I basically just left the game when COVID hit. Then when I first started college, I played casually, I think, the first year when Worlds was in Japan. And then last year I got a day 2. I day 2'd at 2 regionals, but I didn't get my Worlds invite. And then this year I maxed out my cups and challenges in the summer. Then
Wow.
Yeah, I know. You
Baltimore.
knocked me out of 2 cuts.
Yeah. I top 16 Baltimore, then I scrubbed out at Louisville, top 32 allegedly at Sacramento, and then I top 8 at Toronto Regionals, and I left the game for a while, and then I scrubbed out at NAIC, but I guess the top 16 and top 8 got my Worlds invite, so yeah. And I've been known to be a control player and a Twitter yapper, so.
Okay.
Blueberry.
And Hunter, what about you?
So I started in Black and White Next Destinies. That was the first set that I started playing in. It was about 13 years ago at this point. I've been consistently playing ever since, besides during COVID when I took a gap few years. I came back when Caucus happened, and that's when I'm like, okay, I actually want to get good at this game. And I grinded. And then this year, it's just like, okay, I whiffed my invites in the past 2 years. I'm not expecting to get it this year, but I'm going to try. And then I ended up, I went to Puerto Rico. I top 8 the special line in Puerto Rico. And I'm like, oh, it looks like I'm actually in contention of getting my invite. Got points at UIC. And then at Atlanta, I'm like, oh, I top 16 in Atlanta. Okay, I guess I'm locked in for my invite. And I've just been playing just forever. And yeah,
That's
I was
awesome.
gonna say, don't forget mentioning Secaucus. Shout out Luke.
Yeah. Oh, wait, you always just gotta overshadow me. Like, come on.
Yeah, we don't gotta come on. We don't gotta like mention Luke every single time Hunter's
Wash.
in the conversation. He's
Little
washed.
Who's got his
bro
in- who's got
first.
the
So who has
invite
the
this
world's
year?
invite this season?
He doesn't have one.
Mm.
Yeah.
See, exactly.
He also went to like 3 regionals. So
It's all good. We all have years like that. So I'm gonna ask everyone where they ended up finishing for the season then in the rankings. So Joe, where did you end up finishing? What place?
I ended up at an even 750, which put me at 102.
Nice.
You should mention who you tied with, because that's kind of interesting.
Oh, is it?
That's true. The only other person with that exact point total is Ross Coffin.
Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
Hasan?
Yeah, Hasan.
Yeah, I ended at 780, which I just checked is 85th, but I will always maintain I stopped playing for 6 months or something like that, so I think I could have done a little bit better than that.
I definitely think a stipend was in your grasp.
Oh, definitely, but it's all good. We all have to, like I said, we all have to take breaks sometimes, so it happens sometimes. So, what about you, Hunter?
I ended up 47th in North America
Pretty good. That's pretty
How
good.
many points?
with 900 points.
Just
Ooh.
900. Just 900.
Ooh.
900. That's 900. You know, not a big deal. You know.
Did you max out locals? I don't think you maxed out.
No,
locals,
I didn't max out
did you?
locals. I don't even have a challenge win this season.
What?
I have a challenge second, a challenge fourth, and a challenge eighth.
You didn't even go to 4 challenges this year?
I went to 4 challenges, but they never uploaded the Milwaukee challenge. So I don't know if I got points in the Milwaukee challenge. If I did, I would have gotten like 6 points. But they never uploaded it, so technically it only says I've been to 3 challenges.
Wow.
That-
And I've only get to 6 cups, and I won 3 cups.
That's a very good output, honestly.
I mean,
So,
yeah. And then 1 second at a cup, so.
You know. And he only has 900 points, so
Hell,
you know,
900.
just-
That's
oh,
like light work.
It's almost 4 digits. So
It's the most amount of points I've ever had, actually, so.
that's a lot of points, honestly. Like I think it's probably it might have been the most points any of you guys have had, honestly.
Yes.
So I just want you guys to like talk about your season, really. And really, I'm just gonna. I mean, I think you guys could just walk through it with each other, honestly, because you guys remember it pretty well. I know we started with Baltimore, and
It feels like forever ago.
I know
Baltimore.
it feels like
really
3 years
does.
ago.
It's crazy.
I was gonna
Fun.
say, I know that Joe and Hasan actually paired at Baltimore.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
we did.
So funny story about that match. I was on Lax, and that entire event, I kind of gave up on my Lugia matchup. Then I never hit a Lugia in day 1. Then day 2 was 4 rounds, and I hit 3 Lugias, and Joe was my third one. And by that point, I was livid with Arcane 9 because I said, this is the one matchup that I should be losing. Stop giving it to me. And then I hit a local. And to boot, he was just on stream, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh god, this guy doesn't even run Cinchino. Like now I have to think about this even more because I was like, all right, I think I have a line if they do have Cinchino, and I just had to try solving it all over again. And I was just like, oh god, like on the winning in 2, come on.
Yeah.
And
Was
you guys
crazy.
did end up tying, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
which
That
both
is-
locked you in the top 16 there.
That is correct, yeah.
So
Wow.
from there, we'll start. Hasan, how did your season flow after that? Like,
Yeah.
what were your plays? What were your favorite moments?
Yeah, I will also just start with before that. I was on Guardy for a while, like the season before, and then I like was just testing Lax since Airy came out, and then that was when I had my summer of just like going crazy with Lax. And
Yeah, you knocked me out of a cut at
yeah.
PGS. I was playing Snorlax, and I was playing Zard, and you flipped
Yes.
over 2 Snorlaxes, and I said, "No, I'm good, actually."
I think it was the cornerstones that did you in, but
Yeah.
so I played Lax a bunch. I wasn't really sure what list to play for Baltimore, but shout out to Jackson Ford. He sent me a really great list with Ursaluna and 3 Mist Energies. I and it was really innovative. I had like 3 Snorlax instead of the typical 4, which was, I think, brilliant on his part. That was a great list. I think it was definitely a good call for that event. And then it got me to top 16. I then went to Louisville. I didn't really test as much for that event, and I wasn't really confident with my lax list going in. I didn't work with him as much on the list I played, and I was also playing a little slowly. I like cut my hand before the event, I will say, so I can shuffle. But I scrubbed out there. Then going into Sacramento, I was starting to talk to Liam Halliburton a lot. Again, shout out to him. He sent me a Pidgeot control list. Less spicy than the one I played for Toronto, but I got top 32, but I was unfortunately disqualified from that event. It was a super cool deck. Definitely took a lot more thought than Lax, given everything, but Lax is an admittedly complicated deck. And then top 8 at Toronto with Pidgeot again. But
You were
that
on stream, I believe too.
I did not go on stream. They
Okay.
I actually had a Rotom that was it was warped, I guess, and I had to get a judge proxy. Then right before top 8, they called me to the judges table, and I was scared that I was getting some sort of penalty, and they just told me you have to go get a new Rotom right now because we kind of want to end up streaming you at some point if you do make it, and we can't have a Rotom like a proxy going on stream. And then I asked them, do I have to get the same art? Because it was a full art. And they told me, well, if you need to get a regular art, sure, but you did just kind of also like win some money. So like, can you try to like match arts to what your list originally was? And I was like, all right, fine. Like, I guess I'll splurge, man.
They couldn't even like foot you the $3 for the like Rotom or
Hey,
something.
hey, it was like $7. Oh, I was like,
Big
fine.
spender over here.
Was it the full art or was it the SIR?
Oh, it was a full art. I blinged out my entire deck had full art ultra rares, so
Okay. I was curious if you were playing the SIR Rotom because I know that was actually like a penny
that was
for a hot minute there because Zard.
And then like cool plays, I guess. I definitely there was one round where I was turn 2 of time in Toronto, and my opponent had 1 card in deck, and obviously Saw Block can't win because they're turn 3. But I basically had a rough idea of every single Regidrago list I could face. Like I knew most of what the lists were. So I looked through their entire discard pile, and I had a good amount of hand knowledge from like Aries and Luxrays. And I realized they could have one of 2 cards left in deck that one was an item, and I think the other could be an energy. So I can't Saw Block and deck them out to wins. And then if that doesn't happen, it's going to be a tie. So I take the like 50-50 chance that it's item, and I Misfortune Sisters because that was my only line, and I got blessed and I hit it. So that kind of kept me in top 8 contention. That was like a very lucky play I pulled. But I was like, okay, like I'm still in
Gonna
this.
be real. Misfortune has had some of the best moments I think for all. Both like I think
Yeah.
me, you, and Hunter have had some of the craziest misfortunes at regionals this season.
Misfortune is a terrifying card.
I miss it a lot. R.I.P. the goats.
I know. I'm glad Block Lax is gone.
Oh, I missed that
Just
deck with a
fighting
passion.
I am with you
Hunter.
on that one, Hasan. I played it to Louisville, San Antonio, and I points San Antonio with it. I was a win off of day 2, and there was a point in Louisville where I was playing against Drago, and I misfortuned away Prime, Switch, and Cologne in one misfortune.
You're cooked. Sign the slip, buddy.
I love
The dude picked up his cards and just said, "I don't know how to play this matchup anyway. You can have it."
I played against Block Lax in a cup, and I was running Cloth, and they used Misfortune on me and hit 0 items, and the guy just like put his head down, and I'm just like cooking him with this stupid little crab just over and over. He just ended up scooping after like 2 more turns of just whiffing everything.
What was it, Cloth? Were you playing
It was Cloth. Yeah, it was just like
Okay.
straight Cloth, like not even Cloth Terapagos. It was just Cloth.
Okay, so Joe, go ahead. I know you were trying to say something there.
No, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
I was.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. So we got those moments out with the song. How was your season, Joe? Like, how did it go?
Yeah, so as I touched on, first day 2 was Baltimore. You know, hit a crazy run with a lot of crazy players. I hit Nick Moffat, Nick Moffat, Brent Tonneson,
Some
Rowan
Australian.
Stavanov. I hit Karen Farah in round 5.
What?
I hit, I was on stream against Nolan Dalgard on that new not Dalgard. Ugh, I cannot speak. Nolan Randall. Oh my goodness. Um, and then, as we have mentioned, I hit Hasan right here. Cornerstone is my mortal enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I didn't play Cinchino. I thought the card was overrated, and I stand by that into any deck that attacks. Into exactly Cornerstone, yeah. Because Lugia just had so many tools in that format, you really got by without it. It was just one more thing you had to set up that you did not need. The perfect example of this, and this also ties in, this is my highlight of the season. Round 9 of day 1, I hit Brent Tonneson, having no idea who he is. I call him, quote, some Australian.
Oh my god.
Now, it's game 3. He is a Heroes Caped Zard. I am not on Cinchino. And then I go, okay, 11 energy weird here, knockout. Bam. And it dies. And so he then has to play out of it. He's like, you have 17 energy out of deck. I have 3 prizes. Your Blood Moon can't attack. Boss, go. Oh, Annie Iono's me to 1. I go, okay. Thornton, the Blood Moon out, plot an Iron Bundle, Primal Turbo for the 18th energy, retreat, swing with Fluttermane for game, putting 2 on the Cleffa. Genuine highlight of the season. I could win Worlds and we're not beating that.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a crazy play.
Thornton, my beloved. It's actually somebody pretty relevant to this call that put me on it for this event.
Yeah,
You might know something about that, Ben.
Yeah, so my partner Andrea, who is also TBG, was a massive believer in Thornton in Lugia for the entire like existence of Lugia, and it was like a crazy it was the night before Andrea was like, you should be playing Thornton. Why are you not playing Thornton? Thornton's like the best card in the deck.
Mhm.
And sure enough, it came up in the most important match.
Oh, but it came up so many times. That was another reason you got away with no Cinchino, is just Thornton just flexed everything. I was even on first Lightning. So between Lightning and Legacy, there were games where you just announced Amp twice. And a lot of decks couldn't beat that.
Yeah, I ran that in my Lugia list as well,
Yeah.
with for San Antonio and at Puerto Rico as well. And the Thornton was so good.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty certain I was like, you should be playing Thornton at least once or twice in the Discord before San Antonio because of Andrea.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I can't even tell you what my process was in making good lists at that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was gonna say, do you want to mention your gap in between your day 2s?
I'm getting there.
He only talked about Baltimore. Jeez, they were not even.
A lot happened to Baltimore. You heard my run.
Your run was crazy.
Yeah. So and then I did a Louisville. Had a strong start, but I got a game loss due to a Blood Moon just mysteriously falling on the floor. I genuinely have no idea how it happened. Judge came by, gave me a game loss, and that threw off my mental state, and I proceeded to just lose the next few rounds, and took me out of contention. From there, I took a bit of a stop, had to miss some events just due to life stuff. Picked back up at San Antonio, off Lugia at this point, because Lugia is a foul beast. The deck giveth, and the deck taketh away, and for my mental health, I needed to take a break. So
fair.
I had been practicing Miraidon, and I was just going to bring a pretty standard Miraidon list. And then Thursday night before the event, just in like a 2-hour fugue state, just like nothing, not even no thoughts, just deck building thoughts only. My brain was not working normally. I walked away with like almost like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was a blind first Miraidon deck on 2/2 Noctowl and attacking Pika way before that was common. And it had a pretty different matchup spread, but it felt really good. You didn't have a lot of the same lose conditions that normal Miraidon did, just because you had better attackers and more consistency as long as you found a Miraidon. Unfortunately, in 2 separate sets in that event, in 2 games of those 2 sets, I could not find a Miraidon. And nothing you can do about that. And then the third one was to a Guardy, and the one disadvantage of the way I played that list is that you weren't great at jamming like turn 1-2 Iron Hands, which really hurt the Guardy matchup. From there, I had a crazy back-to-back weekend of EUIC, Puerto Rico into EUIC. I went back to normal Miraidon. Puerto Rico was rough. I started 3-0, knowing I needed to go 4-4 to get 128 points, which was wild in itself. And then I proceeded to lose 5 in a row.
Oh my god.
That was hard. That was, I'd say, the most pivotal point in my season, and where I'm like, there are problems here, things need to change. Picked it back up for EUIC, was in a far better mental state, really worked on myself, and edged out a 5-12 finish, losing to the mirror in the winning end. And then from there, and then after then is Vancouver, which I'm like, Lukey is rotating in a week. Let's give this thing one last try. Coughed up a list that I liked, inspired by some other places. Finally put the stupid rat in the deck just because had to at that point.
You were also playing Radzard, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, Radzard. Oh, that card, Radzard Thornton. Oh,
So good.
so good. But yeah, I played 1/1 rat, and that list also felt really good. And I also made top 16, and then proceeded to lose to Pidgeot Control and ASIM.
Oh my
And
Face
for what
when
it's
he's-
worth, the loss was basically due to a very similar thing, that being the goddamn flute.
The
My
flute gets you.
in my game against Hasan, he fluted me for 3, I think, in game 2. I'm just like, yeah, sure, dog. I had a Thornton bundled to get out 1 Archeops, so that's just not enough. But then in that set, it's game 3. He flutes 2 Luminion to play. I'm like, that's fine. I'll just swing with the fish, put the legacy on it, put it back in the deck. That's not a liability on board. The legacy was stuck as the last 2 prizes.
Oh man.
Yeah, but still, was ASIM this time, but still same record, but could not be mad. At that point, I had like all but locked up my run. So going into Atlanta, I was hyper focused on finding a deck I liked, not like a meta call or anything. I ended up on Zoroark, and despite an 0-2 start, I was able to pilot that to a day 2, where unfortunately I didn't do great just due to my head not being in it. However, I got End Sigil at the Limitless page, and then that's really all that matters.
You're
And
not
then
the
I
only
once
one
again took
anymore,
him
I
on-
don't think, though.
What'd you say?
I think somebody else got one.
I still got him the page. I got him the page. I didn't say I'm the only one that has a Limitless page with him, but I got him the page.
You were the first.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe was the first. I just checked.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then I ran back some, not Zoroark, but another unorthodox deck to NAIC, that being Crobat Spidops. I felt it was pretty well positioned, had a lot of nice matchups, and felt really good. Unfortunately, the deck sometimes struggles if you can't get your basics going, and I couldn't in some pivotal rounds. So that was that. Overall, very proud of my season. Cannot believe that I'm here. It's genuinely mind-blowing what I've been able to accomplish.
It is really impressive. Like the run sounds really impressive. I mean, both of your runs have sound very impressive so far.
Very different decks for both players.
Yes. So Hunter,
The
you wanna-
Shmee.
yeah.
Yep. All right. So let's start off with Baltimore, where I ended up going with Zard, though I was considering both Goldango and Blocklax for this tournament, as I believe both to be pretty strong plays. And I'm going with Zard because I just felt like it's the strongest play, it's the safest pick, and I was having fun with the deck. I was winning with the deck. If I win with the deck on ladder or I win against my friends, I'm happy with the deck, and I'm just going to go run with it. Played Zard, went 6-3. I was 6-1 to 6-3. I lost both my win-ins to Quad Quarterstone, which I was like, fun. And then I lost to a Blocklax, which, fun. And I was pretty close to winning that Blocklax game, though we ended up going with the Gentleman's Agreement, and I ended up scooping to my opponent, even though it was basically like a 50-50 board state. It wasn't like, it could have went either way. It would have literally been like, we would have to like, there would be a determined winner within the next like 5 turns, but we would not like officially know. We would have to go through like, oh, he'd have to shuffle his deck and then be like whatever he draws. It's it was a bit of it was just like, it was a pretty even board state, but I ended up scooping to him because it was like, he wasn't scooping and I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to scum someone out of day 2. I'm going to give him the day 2. So I went 6-3, got 256. A few weeks later, I went to Louisville. I ended up registering, like, just on a whim, just like they were doing a wave 2. I was just like, why not? I regged. I went there. I played Blocklax, as I felt that was a very strong play. I felt like it favored Terapagos. Felt like it favored most of the meta. I ended up going 5-3. And the reason why I didn't get it, I did not lose in my winning, and I lost, I think, like, a round prior, which I lost to 2 Roaring Moons, which, in that meta, Roaring Moon was not played. So I hit one round 1, and I hit one round, I think, 6. And it was like the only Roaring Moon in day 2. I don't know if it's the only one, but it was one of the few who made day 2. And it was just super annoying how I lost to Roaring Moon. Like, come on. Like, no one was playing that deck. Then I went to Toronto, and at Toronto, I also played Blocklax. I ended up making day 2. Didn't have that good of a day 2 run. I went,
I think you and me same 60 Toronto, actually.
with the 4 mist energy, yeah.
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 'Cause
That
we
was some
requested
crackpot
big.
idea I had. Like, I was just like, I want to beat the Reggie Drago matchup 100%, and I wanted to seal up Cloth, and I ran 3 Lost Vacuum. I don't know if the 3 Lost Vacuum was actually good, but it beat Cloth. It did the job.
Beat Cloth. I
guess
beat-
Klefki was probably better, like, looking back, but the 3 vacuums did its job, and it won me a game. I was very happy about that.
It also, it works.
Yes, it did work. I ended up getting 256. Not a great day 2 run, but still a day 2 run nonetheless. Then I went to, on a whim also, I was like, Puerto Rico's happening, Reg is open. Why not? I booked Puerto Rico, booked my flight, booked my hotel or whatever. Well, roomed with people. I didn't book the hotel, but you know what I mean. I went there. I was like very conflicted on what to play. And then I was talking to my friend, and he was like, Archelon's a very good play right now. And I'm just like, let me give it a try. Played it, I'm like, this deck is actually pretty solid. I mean, it's pretty linear, but it was a very solid play. And I ended up day 1, I didn't even take a loss, and one of the ties ended up being a legit tie. We tied going into game 3. And the other one was I tied because I completely game through. So I was basically undefeated in day 1. Day 2, I was 1-1 going into top 8. I lost to a Miraidon, which is the same person I ended up losing to in top 8. And I faced a Lugia, which Lugia for Archelon was like a super favorite matchup. That matchup was like 65-35. It was a really good matchup. So I was very happy I faced that. Honestly, when I made top 8, I honestly didn't really care if I lost or not. I was just like, okay, I'm satisfied I made top 8. This is what I wanted. I'm happy. So we ended up going in top 8, going into a game 3, but going into game 3, I mulliganed 4 times.
Oh my god.
That was like one of the only times I mulliganed that whole tournament also, which was just like, really? Mulligan 4 times to even just like get out of my, like, I guess I can't even top 4 now. Like, he ended up getting a massive hand, ended up getting Iron Hands with his Zapdos, so I'm like, oh, whatever, you have it. Then I went to EUIC, which I ended up just like, I'm just going to run back the same 60. I did well. What could go wrong? I ended up going 2-3 to 6-3, which 2-3 was actually my worst performance at a tournament up to that point, which was just like, oh, that's not good. But I ended up going 6-3. So, earliest ever I got out of day 2 contention, that's what I meant to say. But 6-3 got my 5-12 points, pretty happy with that. Then I went to Atlanta, and I'm like, I was very like, I don't know what to play for Atlanta. I ended up going with Terapagos, as I felt like it was a very solid play. I felt like it beat Dragapult. I still believe it favors Dragapult. Don't agree with anyone who says otherwise. It favors Dragapult. Ended up going that. I was also considering Flareon, but I didn't end up playing Flareon because I felt like I didn't have enough practice with the deck. Deck was very solid for Atlanta. It might have been objectively the best play, but since I didn't have enough practice with the deck, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to play something I feel more comfortable with, that I have more testing with. And, yeah. So, and then ended up getting top 16, went 10-1. I was 7-0 to 7-2 to 10-1. Pretty happy with that result. Even though going into day 2 I tied my first round, like, oh, I don't have any contention of top 8 anymore. I'm still very happy with the result. This is honestly, that is the result I am the most proud of. It was definitely my best result this season, even though short didn't give me the most points. It was at the biggest tournament this season but it was bigger than Puerto Rico is what I meant to say, and I'm pretty happy with that. And then Milwaukee, we don't talk about Milwaukee. I didn't even try for Milwaukee. I ended up just like, I don't like any other deck. I'm playing Tropicos again. I don't even want to talk about it. And then
You know what? We went out and had a good time.
we had a good time in Milwaukee though. Had a really good time, just terrible. Didn't even practice at all.
Fine. The tournament's usually the worst part of the weekend anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I ended up also going to Portland last minute. Also, I booked my flight 2 days before the regional started because registration was still open. I was also kind of like no practice going into the tournament. Played Raging Bolt. Honestly, went for fun. I went 4-3, and then I scooped my last round opponent because he's like, he possibly needed the points. So he was like, I was going for my end fight. I'm not entirely close, but I'm just like, I lost game 1, and I'm just like, I really don't want to play another game. I'll just give you the win because the points would not matter to me. And then at NAIC, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to lock it. I'm going to figure out what to play. And I ended up going with Goldango with a Pidgeot because my friends were talking about, oh, this deck is very solid. I'm like, okay, tried it out. And then my one friend, like, it was like 3 days before the tournament, was just like, Calamitous Snowy Mountain, broken card. And I'm like, why? And it's like, it beats Joltik. Showed me how it beats Joltik. I'm like, let me try it out. Oh, it actually does beat Joltik. Decided to run it. Very good card. It's if you're scared of Joltik, just play Snowy Mountain. I'm no longer really scared of Joltik because I feel like after NAIC, it fell off a little bit. So right now, if I were to run it back, I'd probably not run the Mountain. But at NAIC, it won me 8 games.
Wow.
I faced 5 Joltiks.
Wow.
I ended up getting 256. 256. 6-2-1 into a 2-1-1 day 2. Got points. I mean, the points didn't really matter. I was already locked up for my invite at that point. Pretty happy with the result. I still think Goldango is a very solid play going into Worlds, so I might be considering that going into Worlds, like a similar build.
It's pretty cool. So, I mean, that's a good segue. I mean, Joe, Hasan, are you guys like thinking about what decks you're gonna play into Worlds at this point, or no?
I have a sense of what decks I'm interested in. I definitely do this in a systemic way where I definitely want to see like all the lists from what is the Japanese Nationals that just happened.
Yeah,
to
something
like
like that.
reevaluate
The list was
it.
just uploaded to Limitless.
Yeah.
Wow.
I want to look at that definitely before I choose, but I like have a sense of what I like. I forgot to mention I played Flare onto NAIC, but I like registered last minute. And I tested for maybe 2 days, so but I think Flareon's a very good deck. I've also been like thinking about some ideas with Dango. Hunter definitely has been witness to some of my DMs about that. But yeah, I also think the new set, there's a lot of cards like Jellicent and the new energy, Ignition Energy, that I think warrant a lot of review. I think is the best way to put it, because these cards seem to have a very high like performance potential, but I don't know if they're good. And before I lock into a single deck, I really want to go through the cards that are available and also just like see what has done well before I like start focusing on something, because I haven't really tested that much like throughout my season, and I think Worlds is definitely a good time to like lock in on that. So I just want to like look at it. Like Flareon and Dango are on my mind, but honestly, if it's a deck that isn't linear like Joltik, I'm pretty much open to anything.
That's completely fair.
Yeah.
Joe, you were saying you haven't thought about it at all.
I mean, I have. I'm just gonna close. Honestly, a lot of my thoughts are very similar to what Hasan was saying, in that it's like we just got a bunch of really good info to work with, a bunch of good data, and now it's about sifting through that. I also think there's a lot of big stuff in black and white. The cards you mentioned is big. The other two I have my eye on is, I think Air Balloon is massive, both as a card in itself as well as it makes Zoroark playable as a draw engine and basically whatever. Because the former weakness of doing that is that it was liable to getting trapped. Now it's just not. And the other card that I have my eyes on is Hilda. I think Hilda's nuts. For Dragapult specifically, being able to just pick up your deck and show your opponent a Dracloak and a Neo Upper is just like the greatest thing since sliced bread. The number
Another
one
thing with
thought
Air
on my
Balloon.
mind is how to beat Guardy. And unfortunately, I don't know if there is a good answer to that, but like that is the deck I expect to be like the boogeyman of that event. That and Pult to a lesser extent, but Guardy's the one that's like actively on my mind. My biggest issue is I'm a player who plays out of comfort. As I mentioned, I played some unorthodox picks to my last few events just because those were what I liked. With Worlds, I'm not willing to take that kind of risk, but at the same time, it's like I haven't found myself really loving anything that's good. I think there are very good decks right now, but like there's no Lugia. I miss Lugia. That's the moral of the story. I want my bird back.
I will mention another thing with Air Balloon for Hunter is that makes Golden go just so much better.
It's
You are not
insane,
getting
yeah.
Yes,
boss
I
traps.
think that Air Balloon is. I am highly considering running something like maybe Air Balloon Genesect. I've been thinking about that,
Genesect too.
or like I think like if just Genesect as a card is a very good card. Not even just the mirror match, but just like any matchup in general. It's a very solid card to have, and having the ease of access of just not having to like, oh, I have a TM Evo jamming tower to pull it off. No, now you just have the Air Balloon. So even if they gust it up, I'm like, okay, retreat. I'm chill.
Yeah.
So it's very good. It's very good.
It is very good. So what was everyone's favorite deck of the season that they played?
I think we know Joe's.
I think we do.
I played the deck to multiple majors before this in various forms. I played Single Strike Lugia. I played those like colorless lists and the Snorlax. I played those to various events of various sizes. I got some alright finishes with them. Some win in Swift, as I mentioned. Some locals won, but that version of Lugia where it was just like what I can genuinely describe as just a box of things held together by 4 copies of Archeops is the deck just holds a very special place in my heart. I genuinely like this is I'm gonna be cheesy here. I would not be irrelevant of Pokemon. I would not be the person I am today if not for that dumb bird.
That makes sense though.
Yeah.
So
Hasan, I know it's not many, but
Yeah, only 3 options, but definitely Pidgeot. I just loved how the deck made me think. I know it like definitely comes off like it was a comfort pick of mine, but I also think it was a, like objectively like maybe the BDIF into the metagame at the time. It was like it was just like complicated, and I love like solving these puzzles where it's like, all right, my deck is like maybe 20, 25 one-ofs, but so I have to, even though I have like Regieleki or Silene, that's infinite resources, but it's not really. So you have to figure out like what's the most efficient way to beat down your opponent in like the worst fashion possible that makes them lose all hope. And just like doing that every round with like seeing like, all right, I have like these 3 random cards. Like, what's the best thing I could cook up here? And just finding these like random solutions. Like against like Ancient Box, I like realized like, wow, I have Toadscroll in here for Reggie Drago, but Toadscroll is really good into this matchup too. So just like figuring out these like random like options you have that like you could pull off was like incredible. Or like I think like any sort of control deck just has that sort of like advantage. So I really loved playing Pidgeot.
yeah, I think Pidgeot's a great choice, honestly. Hunter, what about you?
That's definitely a hard choice.
That's
You
what
played
you
so
played-
many different
you
decks
played
that
I
I'm
have never
curious.
like for me, I every tournament I always usually play a different deck. I never run I when I run back a deck, I typically do bad. So I typically try and not run back decks anymore. I think that probably I did really like my Goldengo deck to NAIC, even though sure it wasn't like the most like it wasn't my best result. I had a lot of fun playing that deck, and then like whenever I played down Snowy Mountain and going attached to Dark Energy to Monkey Dory, move 10 to Pikachu, and just seeing my opponent's face just like pure dread is just like I don't know, but it just gave me so much like I guess like happiness, but like it sounds a little evil, but like slamming down a card that no one expects, and they have to just like what does this do? Why are you putting damage on your Monkey Dory? It's just like a feeling that you have to be there to feel it. Like it is.
Oh, yeah.
That was so fun. But also, I also really liked Terapagos. Terapagos was very fun. It was definitely harder. It was definitely one of the harder decks I played this season. Even though it wasn't really that hard. It was harder. It was harder than Archalon. Archalon I could play in my sleep, and like it was. I'll probably say Terapagos is number 2.
Yeah, those both. I mean, they both got you some pretty good placements, so that makes sense, of course. So obviously, we've gone through your, you guys getting your invite and everything, and how you guys went about that. And obviously, like the topic that was a big deal around this time last year, and is now kind of, I think, showing itself up again, is the invite system itself. You guys have said you've competed before in previous years. How do you feel about the invite system now that we're done with this season and you guys have gotten your invites?
I'm gonna talk about this from like a Masters perspective as well as like a lower divisions perspective. I think this was definitely a much better way to go about it for Masters, at least, just because there's a lot more emphasis on like being consistently doing well, because like all three of us have meant it hasn't just been one finish that gave us like 400 points, and it's also we aren't just going to a single special event and like getting a crazy amount of points. Like we've consistently had to do well at some point, and on some level it does reward like
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico
280 points, man. I mean, if I without Puerto Rico plus whatever, like if I maxed out locals, I would have still gotten my invite, but like still.
But you didn't max out locals.
Hey, I went to 3 challenges.
Where's the 4th challenge?
If I played a different deck to NAIC, maybe I won the event. Therefore, I didn't need my other finishes.
I didn't go to more challenges.
Then you should have.
I didn't have time to.
All right.
More challenges.
Continue, Hasan.
Yeah, I mean, I also just like instead of there just being this like one barrier, like you're always competing, you're trying to do well, which I think is really good. And I just think there's a lot more value on like your season overall, instead of like, well, you got 600 or you got 700, like it's over for you. And because when I played in seniors, it was always like the you need set amount. What was it, like
The threshold?
Yeah. But for seniors though, or for juniors as well, I've definitely seen stuff on Twitter about this. I definitely think it was really bad for them, and it definitely should not happen, because kids cannot afford, like financially as well as time wise, they cannot afford to travel as often as you do as a master. Because all right, like even though my like 2 really good finishes probably carried me through the entire season, it's seniors, the top seniors and juniors are definitely always cutting. Like even if you like win a regionals, you're still a contention for like possibly falling out. So there's no real way to like prevent this, and you always have to travel, which I think is just a huge burden that these kids should not, and their families should not, have on themselves. So looking forward, I think fine, like they increase the number of spots for masters, and I think the system is fine for us as it is. You know, it's definitely competitive in the way I think it should be. But for juniors and seniors, I think the threshold is probably a better option, just to ease this like insane pressure. 2,460 points with Gabriel winning 3 ICs. You know, like
I was gonna say, what was the threshold for juniors and seniors this year to get in?
I'll take a look. I'll take a look right now. Actually, I have the
I haven't even. Felicity stopped playing after EUIC.
Was it top 100?
It was top 75 for juniors, top 100 for seniors, I believe.
Okay, for seniors, it was 690.
Wow.
And for juniors, it was 680.
That's a lot.
Wow.
That's a lot of points for kids. That's especially
That's a lot of traveling, like Hasan said.
And can we also discuss, like, they don't get as many people, so the point payout is normally a lot less. Like, it only pays out 128 normally at most.
It's not that it's a lot less, it's that it's a lot more high end. The kids making top 8 are still walking away with the same points that you or I would, but it's the kids who, like, are just whiffing instead of getting their 128 points or whatever, are getting literally nothing.
Felicity, we had one of our locals at Baltimore. His name was Billy. He played his first year in Masters. He finished 129th as a senior at his first major event, and
Ow.
I felt so bad, so I bought him Chipotle because I'm his local professor. So I took him to go get Chipotle.
Uh,
Um,
can I get some thoughts on the invite system?
Yeah, of
Yeah, go
course.
for it.
Yeah, this is
So-
open discussion between the three of you guys.
So I am kind of in a different boat. I think, like, when I started, I was able to get my invite from just going to League Cups and League Challenges. And I feel that I'm in the boat of where I think Worlds is like an everyone thing. I think that if you put in the time, I think you should be able to play at Worlds. I do not care if Worlds is 1,500 players. To me, that doesn't matter. It just matters that Pokemon is a game for fun. You want to do well, you'll do well. If you're going like Worlds is just a tournament, and after the first few rounds, the quote unquote bad players will scrub out. Like, I think that exclusivity for Worlds is not something the game should have. Though, if we're saying, okay, we want to have Worlds to be more exclusive, more for, the top players, I still think that the 125 system is very flawed, and I just think that we should have just had a threshold of just 700 points, and it would have just made things easier, where, sure, it would have still been, 125. Though, you now know where you're supposed to, achieve, and, you're just not, in the mind game of, oh, I gotta go this many points, this many points, this many points. This, whatever, now they announced 135 or whatever.
Yeah.
New points. I just think that, okay, now we're going back to the predicting game of, oh, we gotta predict where 135 is gonna be. I was kind of in that boat before I got my top 60 at Atlanta, where it was just am I going to be in 125? Where am I going to land? How many cups do I need to go to? How many days do I need to take off of work to go to cups? How many challenges do I need to go to? It's just it's a mind game that I feel shouldn't happen. And if we just had juniors 650, seniors 700, masters 700, I just think that would be a objectively better system, and you could gauge okay, I'll drop out of the invite race, or okay, I should continue. With this system, it's kind of just up in the air of can I make it, can I not make it? I just think that that the old system of just 600 or a 700 bar would just be better.
Yeah.
If I might jump, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
if I
can
might
go,
jump,
Joe.
if I might jump in here, I agree with some of what Hunter said, but I attack it all. I see it all very different way, even though I agree with some of what he said. As far as the thing about exclusivity and whatnot, as I said, I come from a lot of other card games. The World's experience in Pokemon is very different than other games. For Yu-Gi-Oh! Worlds, they put the top 30 players in what I can only call an office space and have them play the game, and then they make finals a big deal, whatever. I think the way Pokemon does it is way better. You get a lot of top players, and you make it a whole event, almost a convention. But because they want to attract all types of people, as the game grows, they need to cap Worlds. And it's not a sustainable solution to keep saying 650, 700, 750, 800. If the game were to keep growing, they would keep needing to raise the cap until it's 1,000 points. And that's just not sustainable. So they're top 125. Where they went wrong was in the same season as instituting the top 125, completely overhauling the system. The rest of the system in regards to BFLs and point distributions. Because the reason it was a guessing game is because we had no data. Now that we have this, yes, they've changed stuff a bit, but now we know 700 is the baseline. There are a bit more points being given out to offset a few more slots. 700 is going to be the baseline. We know that. I think it's going to be a lot less bad now. Before this year, we just have to throw our hands in the air because they decided to change this all at once. If they instead did at 1 year, gave us the changed BFLs and whatever, and then the next year instituted the leaderboards, we'd be okay, this is roughly what we're looking at, and we have a goal to shoot for, instead of genuinely just nobody knew.
I think at the start of the season, I was in a group chat with both you and Hunter, and we were thinking it was going to be 650 at the most.
Well, that was you. I think I was still in the boat of 700.
I undershot it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was kind of, and I think I overshot it a little, but
yeah.
I still just think that I disagree with it'll go up to 800, 900, 1,000. It won't go to that because there's X amount of points that are available and X amount of players. There's going to be a point where it's just like these players, like, if it gets to the point of 900, like, okay, sure. But, like, it's never going to happen. That'll just never happen.
There's an average, like, because we have our, like, kickers and, like, BFLs, there's, like, going to be, like, an expectation regardless of how many players come to these events that, like, this is the average amount of points they'll get. And I'm sure that when TBCI was releasing these, like, or if we're going from 125 to 135, that was just them saying, like, okay, this is what the bar is. I'm not sure what 135 was this season plus the auto invite, so that's like what 150th place what they got. I just think that this like top X system encourages players to be more competitive like throughout the season. Like you can't just like sit back and like chill, because at the end of the day, you know, every single game, like soccer is a game, like Yu-Gi-Oh is a game as well, but like everything can be taken casually and everything can be taken competitively. And if you don't care about the world's invite, then these points really don't matter to you. Like you could get 50, you could get 1,000, like that's what it is. And then if you're sitting here trying to predict, all right, is it going to be 700, is it going to be 1,000, like, you know, you're kind of missing the point of what it is to be a competitive player in my eyes. Like you should just be trying to do your best and achieve your like points and then your world's invite, and that's it. The worlds is a accomplishment meant to honor the like your top performance this year, and that's why I don't think this, like, let's set a bar, let's make it just, you know, open to as many people as we can is really practical, because I did not make worlds the last 2 years, and I will say it's because I was not doing well enough. I did not perform well enough throughout the year, or I didn't have these like spikes. So I don't think I deserved it, and I think we need to keep the system in a way that encourages like consistent good play.
Yeah,
I still just think that a bar, like, if, like, sure, we made 125, 700 bar, like, it'll still be, like, around 125, 130, maybe 140. Like, I just think having a bar would still encourage the you have to do well. Like, though it also kind of gets to the thing of, like, I'm actually going to pivot. If anyone wants to continue with this, I want to kind of pivot to a different point of the invite system. If anyone wants to continue.
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is about the whole invite system, so go ahead.
Okay, special events. Special events are a problem. And I think everyone agrees with this.
Yes.
And this is also why I feel a bar is good. I mean, I think special events are terrible. Like, they should be giving either give less points or scale, which I don't think scaling is realistic.
It would be the correct solution, but I just
it'd be the correct solution, but it's pretty hard to do that.
I feel like scaling is still like the correct. I know it's hard, but it's not like scaling's just an SPE thing. There are
I know.
Like there are regionals that dwarf the size of other regionals.
What was Milwaukee was like 1,300?
Yeah.
I think it was like 16, but like still like 1,600 versus Atlanta was 1,000 more people. Like that's ridiculous.
It was 1,600, yeah.
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
Like some of the other like ones overseas, those regionals will be
like
small.
Santiago was like 1,100. Monterey was like 1,100 also. Like just like they were smaller, and like sure I mean I still think my 16 is probably still pretty good compared to like getting 16 at Monterey. I still don't think is significantly easier than getting 16 at Atlanta, but like, you know, 1,500 more people. It's like,
well, you're saying like, all right, I place in top like 10% of players, but then top 10% means like something much more different if it's like 4,000 players versus like 1,000 players.
It's also just less rounds played, which means less rounds won. Like like Hunter, you had a top 8 finish at Puerto Rico and a top 16 finish at Atlanta. You won more games in Atlanta, correct?
Yeah, and I think I should have gotten more points at Atlanta versus Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. Although, for what it's worth, this is no longer an issue. As somebody who got 2 top 16s, the difference between top 16 and top 8 is one of the most ridiculous things I've seen out of this system that, while luckily fixed, nobody talked about. Like, my 2 top 16s were equivalent to a top 8 and a 512. And that was pretty frustrating as I tried to look at my accomplishments, and I'm just like, I did all this much more when I could have just won an extra game. I don't know.
Oh
Could have not hit Cornerstone Ogre Pond 2 rounds in a row. Thank you, Hasan.
Something that I brought up last episode was a match point system instead for CP instead, where it is based on how many match points you get is how much CP you get.
If I may, this brings me to another point that I feel very strongly about. The concept of resistance and bubbling and all of that is just insane. The fact that you can do worse than other people because you were unlucky enough to hit opponents that did worse is ridiculous. And there's thousands of dollars on the line. There are people that are making a difference of $1,000, either more or less, because the people that Tom decided to let them play against did better or worse. You know, I tend to do this a lot. I luckily haven't had to deal with it at a regional level, but at locals, I will bubble constantly. I'll get like 9th at a top 8 event with an equivalent record, 5th at a 4-man event. Like, even just at locals, going 3-1 and getting nothing does not feel good. And at a regional, those feelings are amplified. And because there are more rounds, you have even less control. There's nothing helping you if you start the day, you start the day 0-1, right? Maybe even 0-2. That you start the day 0-2. Now you have to play out the next 7 rounds of your regional until you make it to day 2 with the matter-of-fact knowledge that there's a pretty good chance everyone you beat is dropping. Why is that your and this also ties into IDs, which also doesn't really apply to us, but is a whole nother rabbit hole I could get onto. The current tournament structure far rewards you for winning games early than late. Like, the later the rounds are, the less they matter, which is just, like, bizarre.
So what's your solution then?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is, again, so really it's 2 separate manifestations of the same problem, that being bubbling out and the strength of the ID. And you already solved half of it. We should not be, other than like cut, we should not be awarding people based off of their standings. It should be, if you did this, you get this. That would also solve the issue of people making day 2, playing 4 more rounds and getting the same thing as people who didn't make day 2, which I also think is a big issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's infuriating if you go, if you day 2 and you get top 5-12 at a regional in North America, and then you go like 4-3 at a regional in Europe and you get the same points. It's insanity. So,
or even like you go make day 2 at a regional in North America, make 5-12. You don't make day 2 at another regional, still go 5-12. Like, that is something that, like, there are events where that is just like a realistic thing that can happen.
I will say about like the match point based like CP system, I think it really like, even though I guess players will end up like the higher they place, they will get more points. I think it really like loses the whole like concept of a competition, I guess, like an overall like standings thing. Like the winner should be very obviously getting more, I think, and then like celebrating, like doing like just because you won the tournament at like X03 or something versus like an X2, like making this sort of comparison while like counting down like how many points you have kind of loses this like magic of, oh, this guy won the tournament, this is how many points.
But you make money.
The implication.
Well, you make money,
make money if you go high enough.
We're still in a competitive circuit in my eyes, which means the money is just TPCI like being like, all right, we got like this much more like prize money to award. Whereas again, like if you're a competitive player, this like idea is like the creme de la creme. It's worlds. Like I want to qualify for it. So then if you're losing out on these points just because like, oh, even though I won, like I did not have these like I won the tournament, but I lost like round 2 to Dragapult Thorns, just losing this like sparkle of being the winner, I think.
For what it's worth, I'm not saying you get rid of that. Like top cut would be identical. You do it the way they ASIM do it, have the top however many go into ASIM, and then you single eliminate from there, because at that point, there is a definitive bracket that dictates how well you do. You would still have top 8, you would still have event winners, none of that would change, but the guy who got 17th place should not be getting different than the guy who got 16th if their records are the same.
Yeah, I think I honestly am on the side of the match point thing. I think a match point, like getting points I still think is a pretty good idea. And
Yeah.
I just think it's more of just like, oh, feeling like, sure, like I get 32. I just think it's a bad way of thinking. Is maybe the best way to explain it. I think that like there'll still be a top 8. There'll still be an asim. It's just like
Mhm.
X amount of points gets asim. It's eighth
And it's
place,
not
whatever
like
eighth
they
place.
wouldn't
Yeah,
post standings.
I mean, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you'd still get to walk away and say, I got 16th place or whatever. It just, that wouldn't dictate what they give you. And
Yeah.
for cash, it's a bit harder because with the amount of money they give out, that's kind of a bit harder to make malleable. But there's no reason they couldn't fudge with the imaginary number points and the booster boxes they give out that are, relatively speaking, pennies.
I also would like to say that Pokemon has enough money to give out. I mean, sure, they're not making as much money from like the regionals itself, but because Pokemon is mainly using the regionals for like advertising than anything.
I
It's
mean,
not
I
that they
say
don't
they
have the
better be
money.
making something off of
But like
regionals. to help them
they
keep it up.
definitely have the extra money to give out.
It's
And I
less.
just think that, like, sure, giving the extra $2,000 is not going to hurt Pikachu's pocket.
It's not that they don't have the money. It's that when you're planning events like this, like as I've been through my studies, I have actually specialized in event management quite a bit. You can't just kind of leave a massive gray area on how much money you're giving out. Like, just for the sake of recording everything, making sure your event is running according to plan, you can't just leave a big question mark where you don't know where this $10,000 is
An
going. Like, it's
error
just,
bar of like 100,000 for the year. Well,
I mean,
yeah,
you
I
can
don't,
budget, and then whatever extra goes to, I mean, I don't know, maybe they just take a budget.
I don't know.
I
Listen, best
I
solution: give
agree
me
with
the money.
Joe here.
You know,
Yeah. No one's gonna approve a question mark budget, but I will
exactly.
say
Thank you.
about
fair.
this like bubbling thing,
Yeah.
by playing more rounds of Pokemon, you will differentiate, like more Swiss rounds also in
Mhm.
particular. You will differentiate between like solely like, all right, like you every round, like you keep cutting the amount of like undefeated players, right?
Mhm.
In half, if there's no ties.
Mhm.
So by playing more rounds, you're like let creating like different section of players with different records. So
Mhm.
the fact Pokemon added today this one more Swiss round, I think is huge because we're still keeping asymmetricals. So, but we're reducing the size of the predicted asymmetrical by having this one extra Swiss round. So instead of it being like, all right, well now we have 15 people playing for top 8 and then they'll just get screwed out at the end, is well maybe we have this 8th or ninth players that are tied that, like Joe was saying,
Mhm.
they shouldn't be like getting immediately like noped out because of resistance. We're
Mhm.
playing an extra round to really differentiate all these players through like 9 through 16, 1 through 8, then
Mhm.
17 through 32. And we're still keeping this benefit of like, all right, well, if you got unlucky with resistance, you have a
I will
saving
say,
round.
playing more rounds of Pokemon should overall just be like this record makes this result normally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be as large of a bubble or as much of a risk for a bubble if more people are playing more Pokemon.
Mhm. Like,
I I
yeah, like,
genuinely think
sorry.
yeah, I think with if you look at like old regionals before the round like reduction,
Mhm.
I think the bubble was only like 2 to 3 people big, maybe
Mhm.
something like that. It was like much smaller than it is right now, and I think
It
that's
was always
solely
Grant Manley.
Grant Manley. Oh, buddy. Oh, Trick Roar.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. But it's just like, one thing that I jumped to, my personal experience, my Baltimore record was identical to my Vancouver record. One of those asymmed and one of those didn't. Like, that's something that I don't think you can fix as easily, and you necessarily shouldn't. But that's just the thing of, like, getting different results out of the same record just does not feel good, and we should be taking steps to remedy that.
So the only thing is that I would like to add is that Vancouver was a smaller
Oh,
tournament.
you're right. No, my bad. My bad. You're right. It
Significantly.
was one less win because it was one less round.
It was significant.
Sure.
It was also significantly like smaller,
Yeah.
like by
But yeah,
like I think almost 1,000 people.
Baltimore was also really messed up because it was the only event of the season where you had to go 7-2 to day 2. So, like, the whole math on that was just completely messed up.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that event was so stressful. For tons of people. People were doing gentlemen's on like round 2 and 3.
think
Yeah.
Yeah, I
gentlemen's
made a
round
gentleman's
4.
with Michael Bio round 3. I mean, we didn't end up going to a gentleman's, but we did make an agreement going into game 3. If we tied or
Ra-
whatever, we'd make a gentleman's
Round
agreement.
8 with Nick Moffat, we made a gentleman's on our winning in. Like we still had the next round to win if you lost there, but we made a winning in, and and it did come. We made a gentleman's. It did come up, and he honored it. It was like very obvious. Like he was kind of falling behind. I was 2-6 on Lugia. In any turn, I could have just taken it, but
Also, you shouted out Michael Bio. Shout out the former New Jersey Worlds invite this year.
yeah.
Dude's in South Carolina now. He's the only one we don't have on the pod from New Jersey this year. 'Cause he
People
moved
think
to
I'm a
South
New York
Carolina.
player as well,
Yeah.
so
For what it's worth, I didn't know you were a New Jersey player until we started playing this too.
I just I just like going up and down the tri-state, terrorizing everyone.
Yeah, that
Like,
sounds about right. Like I
That's
thought you were
fair.
from PA.
Public transport demon.
I take the SEPTA, I take the NJ Transit, I take the Lear, I take whatever they have in Connecticut.
He's a monster. He must be
We're
stopped.
not sponsored by public transport, by the way.
We're not, but like
yet.
We
NJ
should
Never say
be.
never.
if
NJ
NJ
Transit sucks.
Yeah, if NJ Transit wants to give me like free train tickets on the Northeast Corridor, I'm all for it. I will go to all the constables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, NJ Transit, fix your stuff, and then I'll start using you more.
That's a transit. I have no moral integrity. You're terrible. Give me money. You will no longer be terrible.
Exactly.
The grifting is real. The grifting is real.
Sponsor me.
Not gonna lie.
Speaking of sponsorships, we got to fit in FCBC Armor quick because they are our team sponsor. So I got to do my bit for a second. So FCBC Armor, great sleeves. I don't know if you three have tried them yet, but you should. They are fantastic sleeves. They shuffle great. They last really long. And something that I love to say is they don't get dirty as quickly as any other sleeve. They do not build up on grime, and they still get that really nice shuffle feel. I'm an aggressive shuffler. If anyone's played against me, you know that I'm a little crazy with the cards. And these things survive my abuse every single time. FCBC Armor is also made by a guy in Ohio, not big corp or anything. Just a really cool dude who's making really cool sleeves. They're in beautiful colors. I got the teal here. This is the rose gold. And this is the orange, but that's not it. They got tons of different sleeves. They also have binders and soon to be deck boxes as well. So definitely grab yourself a box of FCBC Armor if you have the chance. Definitely recommend them, and definitely recommend them to the three of you guys as well.
So I would also like to add on that. I've used FCBCs for every tournament since Puerto Rico, and they are by far the best sleeves I've ever best sleeves since 2017 that I've used, because the company that I used to use in 2017 just their quality went. They have been the best sleeves, and I could vouch for everything that Nikki said about the sleeves.
For what it's worth, talking about a sleeve company whose quality has gone down since 2017 literally does not narrow anything down at all.
Yeah.
We have.
I've never tried FCBC.
They are very good. They are very
great
good.
sleeves. They are great sleeves. You got to pick them up.
I've used them as well. I can't say I've used them to every event, just because getting them can be a hassle sometimes, as they're not everywhere yet, unfortunately.
You can order them online, just like FCBC Armor. They got a website. They'll ship it. Brian, he ships them out lightning fast.
That requires me to plan ahead, and I don't do that.
Hasan,
you can also just go to
Hasan
Games.
plans ahead. That's what he proved in his whole thing about picking his worlds deck. So he'll plan ahead and get some FCBCs.
No.
I don't usually plan ahead, but Worlds I think I need to, because at this point we can't be messing around.
Yeah, going to NAI sleeves, I got my sleeves the day before I left. I also got my deck the day before I left, for what it's worth.
I got my sleeves the day before, but also my closest store sells FCBCs. So
yeah, see, it's different, yeah. I gotta take an hour to get FCBC.
I will say, sleeves. if Hasan, if you come down to Hobby Vault for the League Challenge next Thursday, I will give you a pack of FCBC.
It's next Thursday.
Where's Hobby Vault?
It's in Maple Shade.
Dude,
like South Jersey.
Can't believe this
I
plug.
really hope it's close to a Northeast Corridor stop. You know,
Hasan, I'll hop on the train with you.
No.
Dude, if you can grab me from New Brunswick, I'll be there.
I can grab you from Trenton.
You know, might have to do this for the FCBCs.
We just gotta get Nikki there, and then we do the next episode live.
That's a lot of
I was
driving
gonna
for
say
me.
you act like Nikki's
Get going.
Nikki's in Reading.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
I mean, I popped out there before. You could pop out to New Jersey.
I
I'm
did
sorry,
for
actually-
a cup actually, and I top 8'd, and then I was like,
and you'll win
okay.
this. Actually, no, you'll get second. I'm sorry. I'm getting.
Oh, interesting, Hunter.
The script already
interesting.
said it.
I still got to get you back for that one challenge. So
The one that I
Hunter.
drove. Wait,
Hunter,
I
you're
was
out
going to
here-
a chat. That day was so crazy. By the way, I'm gonna go on a little tangent. I went from I was going to a challenge in South Jersey, but the traffic was so bad. I looked it up and I saw this was starting an hour later. So we made like a pivot. Like we went 30 minutes in the wrong direction to just go to that challenge.
Oh my
And I won
God.
that challenge. They
Yeah.
actually also marked me as late to the challenge too, and I still ended up going.
and you
for it.
still won, which was
I
crazy.
still won.
Wait, when was
Yeah.
this?
Oh,
This was Japan 2023.
Okay, okay. I was gonna say it'd be really funny if you like it was this year because you said you didn't win any challenges, and then you'd be a
I know.
liar.
No,
I went to zero. I went 1-0 challenges.
Hunter's a washed challenge winner, unfortunately.
That's okay. Hunter just
I
gets top
ID'd.
16.
I ID'd the challenge, and when we played, I won the game. Like
Yeah.
I just didn't want to play mirror.
That's great.
the
You
mirror was
ID'd.
insane.
Oh, it was our
I,
challenge on mirror. I just didn't want to play their challenge on mirror. I don't know why.
I have more challenge wins than Hunter this season. That's
I
kinda
think you're
crazy.
better.
Yeah, but where's your
That.
world's invite?
Ooh.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I was a little mean.
No,
That's a
no,
little
no.
mean.
No,
That's a
Hunter, how
little
many
mean.
first place finishes you
That was
got
a little mean.
this season?
Oh man.
You're lucky I like you, Hunter. You're lucky Milwaukee was such a
Hunter.
good time.
How well did you have to do at the Milwaukee Challenge for 6 points? Because I don't even know off.
So that is
I think it would have
actually-
been. I went
can answer this
5-2. I went 5-2.
What like top? What is
It's
that?
top 16.
I would have been top
points.
16 if they added it. I also don't even know. I could have bubbled down to 16, but 5-2 should have got me 16.
For what it's worth, I've gotten top 16 challenge points at a local challenge before, so anything's
I-
Oh
possible.
no! I wasn't. No, I think it was actually. Was it 5-2 or no? It was 5-2. It was 5-2. Yeah.
So my first challenge last season, well, I guess this past season, I went to Final Turn Games up in North Jersey, and I bubbled to Ethan Heggie into top 16 points.
I
What store
remember
could
all
fit
those
enough people to get the top 16 points?
Yeah, they had 42 players.
Wow.
It was very crammed.
That's like
The
the first
last time I
illustrious
was at a
challenge.
meet, the last time
I
I was at a big
remember.
event in that store, to do pairings, they got everyone out of the store, announced pairings, then you walked in one by one.
That's insane.
They had the back room open up. It was rough.
Yeah.
I hit festival-
That checks out.
I played against Dre. I played Drago. That was my first time ever playing Drago on a tabletop.
Well, So speaking of just all this and everything, you guys obviously were reminiscing our seasons and everything. So I just want to end this with like, do you guys have any advice for people who want to grind for the world's invite next year, who is starting out, anything like that? Like, what advice do you guys have?
So I didn't I didn't make worlds for the last 2 years, and then I like basically one trick decks. Like I played Snorlax for a good like 8 months, and I played like Pidgeot for another 4, but I wasn't really doing any like testing at all. Like I would not sit down and like grind games, but I think in some way I was testing because I would just go to locals and I would like play this deck, and I wouldn't say I was like testing against like the like world's top players, but I was still just like playing a lot of Pokemon, like whether in one way or another. And I was also just thinking about the game. Like I put some thought into my deck list and my choices. I put some thought into what sort of weird situations I could get into. Like what can my deck do, you know? And if you just play a lot of Pokemon, you're gonna have a lot of answers to these, regardless of if you're objectively testing. And you don't even have to be one tricking a deck, you know. If you have the ability to like sit down a week before an event and get like 200 games in, good on you. and if you think that deck is worth it, make the switch. Just like play games. Like there's nothing better you can do. It doesn't even matter how good or bad your list to an extent, or like how good or bad the deck is. Play a deck. Just play it, and then you will probably do better than you wouldn't if you didn't play those games. Like there's nothing like practice is the only is the only truth in this game.
Yeah, I'd like to. Oh,
I was gonna kind of second that. My best advice is play like how I normally test is I do better just grinding out 30-40 ladder games in like a 6-hour session than I would ever do in like a one-on-one like I do this, you do that, I do this, you do that. Because I'm at least learning the deck. I'm figuring out the actions. And it's just like trial error, trial error, trial error. Like for NAIC, I played I think 350 games, and I think I only did like one-on-one with somebody like once during the whole time testing. Like for me, ladder is just like where I could just go. I mean, it's like I could try out decks. I find out 5 games later the deck's trash. I just move on to the next deck. Or I go on a 15-game win streak. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm playing. Like that's how I figured out Goldango. I was winning with Goldango. I did well with it. Decided, okay, I'm gonna master this deck as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I played it to the best of my ability, except one round where I completely misplayed. But like, I played it to the best of my ability, and I feel like that I could playing ladder let me into the situations where okay, I know what to do in this situation. I know what to do in this situation because okay, I've been in that situation before. Like getting as many games in as possible is the best play, and also kind of like what Hasan was saying, don't like last minute pivoting is usually incorrect. Just even though like sure it might be a quote unquote objectively better play, like I thought that Flareon was a better play to Atlanta going into Atlanta, but I played Terrapagos because I felt more comfortable with Terrapagos. Like I wasn't gonna go play the best deck in the room if I feel like I am a better player on another deck and I know I'll do better with the other deck.
mhm. Yeah, I'd like to echo a lot of what was just said. Y'all really took a lot of my points like right out of my mouth. Comfort is king. You playing your best deck does not mean you playing the best deck. If you know what deck you like, as long as it's like even somewhat viable, you can and will do well. Look at how many random Toad Scrolls and Zoroarks we've seen top eights this format. Those are decks that I would not call tier 1 or commonly played. We've never seen either of them make it on any sort of usage chart, but they put out consistent results by people who know and play them because they are committed to those decks. And the same thing. Don't focus on like super complex testing, figuring out these lines. Play the dang game. If you play the game, if you know your deck, you will figure out your matchups. You will figure out lines. It will all just flow if you have experience. And the best way for you to have experience is by focusing in on a deck that you like and are good at. A lot of people really get caught up on the play and the meta and all these concepts that theoretically matter, but in reality, like, don't think too hard about them. Like there are obviously exceptions to this. If your deck is taking an auto loss to the deck that's 30% of the room, maybe reevaluate your choices. But just because maybe a Joltik or a Goldango or an Eevees isn't like in a great meta position, if that's the deck play it. The other big thing I would like to mention, that has not been brought up yet, and this is something that I really learned this season, is that honestly, the game is not the most important part of these events. What matters is your ability to play it and your mental state. As I mentioned, I started 3-0 in Puerto Rico and finished 3-5, and that's because my mental state was not good. I was not keeping myself in the moment. I was not focusing on the now. My brain was all over the place. I wasn't taking care of my body with proper food, water, and rest. I didn't take care of my body, and in return, my body couldn't win. You know, whenever you practice for an event and whenever you go to an event, you think about the game, you think about how better you can play, what's the tech. The real tech is what snacks you bring in your bag so you don't kill yourself of starvation during the event. Tech is getting a good night's sleep. The real tech is maybe after a stressful round, bowing out from your friend group for a few minutes and just sitting alone and taking it in so you're ready for the next round. that's the play. That's what you need to do if you want to win. And I feel like that's the difference maker between players that are good and players that are great.
I would like to say that at AIC, I didn't eat until 10 p.m. that day.
Well, listen,
Oh.
food is different because it affects everyone's body differently.
Yeah,
Like,
I can't,
Yeah.
like, during
food is
tournaments, I
very
physically
important.
cannot eat.
That's the thing. I can't either. However, I shut down if I don't eat it. It's a catch-22.
I just don't eat. I literally just stomach physically cannot eat anything. I'm not hungry until after the tournament where I'm just like, oh, I'm like really hungry. And then
But see,
I eat like 1,500 calorie meal and then just like pig
listen,
out.
the food part was an example of it. Everybody's reaction to
Yeah.
food is different. But,
I
like,
know, and you should eat during tournaments. Don't listen to me.
And
Don't be like me.
I get hungry after every round. I am snacking all the time if you find me.
I have
I'm
cookies
one.
on me at all times.
Yes.
I will say,
Hunter, I'll
Tate's
fight back
Bake
on you
Shop.
here. I literally relate to everything
Yeah.
you said in regards to food killing my stomach and me not feeling hungry. But I have genuinely noticed an improvement whenever I put something in my body. Even if that something's like a singular piece of jerky or like a small pack of cheese and crackers.
Yeah.
You
The
will.
best pregame meal I had before regional this year was with you was the Taco Cabana breakfast in San Antonio.
You know what? Okay, so with we have locations, and with San Antonio rumored, I implore anybody going back to San Antonio regionals this season, go eat Taco Cabana. Genuinely, just this random.
If we have San Antonio.
It has to be in San Antonio. But yeah, random
Most likely.
Taco Bell lookalike fast food that is just the best food I've eaten all season. Oh my god, I still miss it to this day.
I will say,
Taco
like,
Cabana,
listen,
please sponsor me.
Not the Taco Cabana sponsorship.
Listen, I have weirder. In my top 16 Vancouver Twitter post, I added hit Bandai arcade game, add Animal Kaiser, because they had it's one of these arcade machines where they like dispense you little cards to play with that we did at London, and I used the card I got from the arcade machine as my V-star marker for the event, so I added their Twitter.
What were you saying, Hasan?
yeah, like about the mental thing, like Pokemon's a mental game, so your brain's like using calories, so probably a good idea to eat and replenish those. And I have also very consistently noticed, like for Louisville, when I injured my hand, I just like fell out of like I was just in like a daze the entire time. Like that was not good for me. And then for NAIC, I had sinusitis right before, and I also landed late, and I stayed up really late testing like just like some like bad deck, and I almost made that last minute switch. So like I lost practice games with it. I slept late. I was tired. I had a headache the entire tournament. And sure, did I not test beforehand as well? And that's like probably a big cause of why I did badly. Fine, but I also like noctowled without a Terra and play more than once. And as much as you can practice, that is just like a like basic mistake that probably wouldn't have happened if I like took a little bit better care of myself. And like I said, I always have a bag of cookies on hand. I always try to have like a good breakfast. You know, you're on
Yeah.
vacation, have like spend some money on like a decent breakfast too. And also, just a side note about testing. I know Hunter was talking about ladder games. I don't particularly run as much ladder. It's a great way to spam a bunch of games, but I also like to play over the board just because it helps me visualize lines a lot more, because you will be playing with the physical cards at the end of the day. You can sort your hand, whatever, deck search in a way that like is much more conducive to you. And if you also play games against yourself where like you take two decks, you like lay them out, you can see what your opponent can do, and so like gives you a lot of insight into like how you can play the game. Like if they want to like take certain lines, you can also run back like certain moves, which I think is extremely useful. You can see how certain games would have gone if you did it differently. So there's just something I wanted to add on aside from the mental thing. Joe was
Yeah.
saying.
I
Live,
think that's
add an
good
undo
advice.
feature.
Another limitation of live testing is that it holds your hand. It's a semi-automatic client. You know, you bring up Noctoweling without a Terra. You know, you might, for example, you might play the Noctowl without the Terra if you're playing on live, but you will never illegally pick up your deck. You know, so you might not go as punished for that. Or like a ball search, you'll never miss. You'll never be like, oh, I thought that was present, because you'll see right front and center exactly what you're looking for. The game holds your hand, which makes it harder to make a lot of simple mistakes. You know, a lot of mistakes that either are a lot less likely or just can't be made that you will make in person if you're not holding cards physically.
you're like in Pokemon, these like physical cards are in my head kind of like a layer that I'm going through. Like I play down cards like I'm Arvining, that I'm secret boxing, that I'm vessaling, right? If you're like playing these cards down physically, you're kind of creating this mental picture of what you want to do. And as much as it's like line experience that live can give you just from sheer volume, you're not really getting this unless you're playing the physical game. And I think like you sit down, like, you know, your round one opponent, once you pick up those cards, if you've been testing physically, this is going to feel exactly like what you've been doing. You should have been testing physically with cards as if you're in an actual tournament. And then once you sit down for your round one, it's just doing the same thing all over again. You're not on a computer.
I would like to also say that a lot of the newer players who newer top players, a lot of them are also ladder grinders, and it's consistently been shown that these players like Hedrick, Chow, and a lot of these other people, they play ladder, and it shows it works. I would also like to say, like, my one friend Justin, he just came 32 at NAIC. He put in, I think, like 500 ladder games going into NAIC, more than me, and he was just like, I'm happy with it. I'm running with this deck, and it made top 32. Like, I believe that ladder is still very much proven to be a very good way to test.
He also got second, I think, at the full grip tournament we've been talking about
No.
a bunch too. Was it Justin Templar?
No, Newdorf.
Okay, different Justin. Okay.
Well, I think that's all great advice, honestly, guys. I just want to thank you again for being on here. Is there any last thoughts, quick, before we all say goodbye? No?
Thank you for having us on. This was
Yes.
a great opportunity.
Yeah, thank
of
you.
course.
Fix the invite system.
I'll just say Blueberry for anyone who understands.
Shut
Shut up, Blueberry.
No, it's all Ben. Honestly, Ben orchestrated this. So shout out to Ben, honestly, so for doing this for
Shout out to the
both.
state of Jersey.
Yeah,
No,
seriously.
don't do that. Don't not the worst idea.
The Garden State, guys.
Yeah.
No. Well, thank you guys again. Once again, that is Hasan, Hunter, and Joe on the Attach and Pass podcast. We will put links to everyone's social media in the
Oh, do you
description
guys want
below.
to plug those?
Yeah, I mean, they can if they want to.
How about...
We usually just put it in the description.
Okay, that works too.
So
I'm
completely
so bad at
interrupted my outro,
Yeah.
but thanks, Ben.
Sorry,
If
that's
you
my
want to know
job.
my social media, go read the description. While you're down there, why don't you leave a like and subscribe?
Exactly. See, Joe knows what to say.
And
here.
make sure
See?
to turn on the post notifications so you'll
Yeah.
get notified whenever the podcast uploads.
Not
Exactly,
eloquent enough,
because if
not
you want to
eloquent
see
enough
their
for that.
shining faces again, I need to know that. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching, to all of our wonderful viewers, and we will catch you guys next time. So, goodbye.
Bye.